Good morning to all. Myself, R.D.HAMAYANTHI. I am working as an assistant professor of English in A.D.M. College for Women, Nagapattinam. Today, I am going to take about my grandmother's house, and it was a poem. It was written by Kamala. First, we move to the author introduction. Kamala. Her Malayalam pen name is Madhavi Kutti and her Muslim name is Kamala Suraya. She was born on March 31st on 1934, Tirusur, Malabar Coast. She belonged to Kerala. And Kamala Das was born into a high status family. Her mother, Nalapat Balamani Amma, she was a well-known poet, and her father, V.M. Nair, was an automobile company executive and a journalist also. Kamala Das was died in the year of 2009 on 31st May. She was born on 31st March and she was died on May 31st. The birth and death date of Kamala Das is same here. And she was an Indian author who wrote openly and frankly about female sexual desires and the experience of being an Indian woman. So if we take about Indian women means, we have some suppressed feelings which cannot be expressed. So in her writing, she clearly exhibited the unsatisfied desire of Indian women through her writings. And if we take about the awards received by Kamala Das means, Kamala Das poetic collections included Summer in Calcutta. It was published in the year of 1965, and The Descendants, it was published in 1967, and The Old Playhouse and Other Poems was published in the year of 1973. Subsequent English language works include the novel Alphabet of Lust. As I said earlier, Kamala Das has written the suppressed sexual desires of women. So the Alphabet of Lust is one of a novel. It speaks about the lustful desires of women. It was published in the year of 1976. And one of a short story named A Doll for the Child Prostitute, it was published in the year of 1977. And Padmavati, the Harriet, it was published in 1992. In the year of 1999, she controversially converted to Islam, renaming herself Kamala Suraya. She received mainly literary awards, included Asian World Prize for Literature in the year of 1985. Now let me come into the poem. My Grandmother's House is an autobiographical poem. First of all, what is meant by autobiographical? That means a person who has written his or her own life experience through their writing is autobiographical elements. So, My Grandmother's House is a poem. It was an autobiographical poem. It was written by Kamala Das, and this poem speaks about her own grandmother's house, and it tells a story of nostalgia and sorrow. The poem speaker longs to return her grandmother's house. Here, the poem speaker is absolutely the author of this poem, Kamala Das. And where she once felt loved and secure, especially now that she lives a lonely adult life, mourning the safety and comfort of her childhood. She had went to her grandmother's house, where she had enjoyed her life fulfilled with lots of love and care. When she was grown into an adult, she missed her loneliness, and that was exhibited in this poem. This poem was published by Kamala Das in the year of 1965 in the collection The Summer in Calcutta. Now let me read the poem first. My Grandmother's House. There is a house now far away where once I received love. That woman died. That woman here refers to her grandmother. The house withdrew into silence. Snakes moved among books. I was then too young to read. and my blood turned cold like the moon. How often I think of going there to peer through blind eyes of windows or just listen to the frozen air. Or, in wild despair, pick an armful of darkness to bring it here to lie behind my bedroom door like a brooding dog. You cannot believe, darling, can you, that I lived in such a house and was proud and loud. I, who have lost my way and beg now at strangers' doors. Strangers means a person who was unknown to them. That means she was begging. So now she begs at strangers' doors to receive love, at least in a small change. This is the poem that was written by Kamala Das. My grandmother's house has 16 lines of poem composed in a single stanza of free verse. There is no set of rhyming schemes in it. The lines alternate between pentameters, terameters, longer and then shorter, to sharpen the contrast between past, present, between loved and not loved. The basic theme of this poem is lost love, with the speaker bemoaning the fact that once she lived in a house where she was loved, but now her circumstances mean that she has no love in her life. Let me move on to the lines explanation. First of all, we take about line number 1 and 2. There is a house now far away where once I received a love, that woman died. The explanation of these lines is, the speaker ruminates on the past, telling of a house that she still exists but is far away in her memory. There she was received love. This is the grandmother's house. The reader can presume, and the woman is the grandmother or the actual speaker. That means here, this poem spoken by Kamala Das. Here what she tells is, during her childhood age, she used to go to her grandmother's house. It was far away. That means it may be a village side. There she had received a love, and that woman died. That means her grandmother died. Note that the dots at the end of the word love. Some have been critical at this device, calling it as a lazy prop. But dots play a part of a pause, thinking of M.A. Dickinson use of those famous dashes or a poignant gap in proceedings. If we take about those lines, means the emotions will be in a continuing emotions. Now, line number 3. The house withdrew into silence, snakes moved. Among books I saw, I was then too young. When the woman passed away, the house became silent. There is no one to take care of her, Kamala Das, and to take care of the house also. So the house moved into silent. Nature invaded in the form of a snake, a symbol of danger and coldness, sliding among the books, a telling scene, perhaps of significance to the speaker. The speaker was too young. That means, if a child is at the age of 5 or 6, means she can able to pronounce only the alphabets, but she could not able to read all those books what is present in it. So at the young age, she can't able to read the books. It was dusted. So the house became empty because her grandmother was passed away. So the books was covered with little insects, and it can be able to hear the snake's movement sounds. And she was too young to read the book. Now, let me move on to the 5th and 6th lines of the poem. To read, and my blood turned cold like the moon. How often I think of going. She could not read anyway. She only had the dark feelings that she has become cold like the house itself. That means She was too young to read the books. At the age of, when we take about the childhood age, only the small children can able to pronounce the ABCD alphabets alone. They can't able to read the wordings that was present in the books. So in that age, she moved to her grandmother's house. There her grandmother was died and she was too young to read the books. She could not read anyway. That she only had the dark feelings. That means a person who can't able to express the original emotions through the words to someone else. So that comes under dark feelings. And now she has become cold like the house itself, but still she thinks about a return. That means now she had grown up, she moved into the adult age and crossed an young age. Now she had begun her career as a writer. She wants to restore the love and affections which she was once received from her grandmother. So she just wants to restore the love and emotions there, but she can't able to bring back the feelings again. Now the line number of 7 and 8. There, to peer through the blind eyes of windows or just listen to the frozen air. That means the house was filled with silence everywhere, because in her grandmother's house there is no one was living there. So it was completely surrounded with silence, and she just wants to peer in through the windows, which may be the blind eyes. Perhaps she won't be able to see anything at all because there is nothing to see. She won't be able to go back in her memory to once again to feel the love, because once the past is past and it cannot be restored again in one's life. We can't move, we can able to think or recall the memories that we had received from our childhood age, but going back to the childhood at the same age is currently impossible at all. Even though the earth may be frozen, she wants to go back. This is the longing in her to restore the love of her grandmother's emotions. Or in a wild despair, pick an armful of darkness to bring it here to light. And she will be so overcome with despair that she will bring back some darkness from that house, a reminder of the past. That means once the house was filled with love and care is completely vanished, there is a darkness everywhere. Now, as a reminder of her past life, she brings back some darkness from the house to now where she was living in a current house. That means she is bringing the darkness from the house in which her grandmother was lived there, and she take her darkness to the house in which now she was living here as a writer. Behind my bedroom door, like a brooding dog, you cannot believe, darling. Here, the darkness will be used figuratively like a dog, a dark body brooding. If a dog is barking means if there is no one in the house means we can able to hear those sounds in a clear manner. In the same way, there is it completely silent and there contain no sounds at all. There is no one to open the door or to shut the door back again. So it was completely surrounded with silence. Why not the living room door, the kitchen door? A bedroom is a place of intimacy and quiet. Perhaps this is why the speaker wants to be written. She has no intimate love in her life. She is talking to someone close because she uses the word darling. That means there will be an opposite person which may be sitting among with her. There maybe she was sharing all her emotions. It was unbelievable to grasp the situation, what she was undergone with her own feelings and emotions by thinking about her own grandmother. In this, her current partner, maybe a husband, a spouse, or maybe a dear close friend, whatever it can be. We can't able to grasp her situations and it is unbelievable. Now, can you that I lived in such a house and was proud and loud, I who have lost. Here I refers to the author Kamala Das. As I said earlier, Kamala Das has written this poem with autobiographical elements in it. So can you? She is asking the reader to grasp her situations. Can you? That I lived in such a house. That means she lived in such a house where she got all the care and affections from her own grandmother. The speaker reinforces the disbelief. Yes, she did once enjoy being loved in her grandmother's house before she could read, when she was too young to read a book. But now she has lost all the pride and love. That's because her grandmother has passed away. And my way and beg now at strangers' doors to receive love, at least in small change. That means she is asking us strangers to get some small love or affections from them. When her grandmother has passed, she had stopped her receiving love and affections and care from others. So she wants to restore the love back again. She has somehow lost it. Life and love go in hand, and now she is rock bottom, having to beg for small changes. That means she is expecting neighbors to have a talk with her that will give a small change in her life. Is she really having to do this? For some solace, for cash, is this a metaphorical scene portraying her plight in the realm of her love? Or is she having to go to people she does not know, giving herself away for little? She wants to move to the people who does not known by her just to get few affections, few kind words from them. The theme of this poem is longing and nostalgia. The speaker of my grandmother's house mourns the loss of her grandmother, the person who provided her with the only unconditional love she has ever known. She dreams of going back to her grandmother's house, which has fallen her desire in the way of her grandmother's death. The speaker's desire to visit her grandmother's house is really a wish to revisit the love and security of her childhood. The next theme is longingness and desire for love. My grandmother's house can be read as a portrait of extreme loneliness. The poem speaker, having lost the only person who ever completely loved her, now look for whatever crafts for affection she get it from the strangers. Her desperation and willingness to turn just about wherever for comfort, and it reflects the depth of her loneliness, and it illustrates just how powerful the desire for love can be. Now, the overall summary of this poem is about the speaker begins by remembering a long past house in which she felt loved, and then she was able to denote that the snake slithered between the books. At that time, the speaker was still a child and she could not read yet. When her grandmother died, the speaker felt as if the blade had turned as cold and the moon. The speaker often dreams of going back to the house and squinting through its empty windows or listening to the cold, lifeless air. Here, lifeless air, which means the air contained no life to give a new freedom to the author. She imagines that in a moment of deep anguish, she might scoop up some of the house's gloom in her arms and take it home, keep in her bedroom, where it would lie around like a moping dog, addressing a loved one she calls her darling. She says she wanted, of course, now she spends her time trying to gather all the crumbs of love from the strangers. This is the poem. Here, the author Kamala Das has mentioned autobiographical elements which she had experienced her own childhood days is expressed in this poem. Thank you.